Hello everyone, welcome to our live webinar, How to Land a Pre-Match. My name is Sheila Awala and I am the Vice President of Education and Placement here at Residency Medical. Thank you so much for joining us, whether you're here in Los Angeles or in any other part of the globe. Tonight we have three distinct guests joining us. First, our host, Dr. Michael Everest, is founder and Chief Academic Officer of Residency Medical. He has over 25 years of experience developing graduate medical programs and assisting community-based hospitals. He has worked with them to grow strategies and has guided US, DO, and IMG physicians into residency with strategic training, preparation, and medical education. Our special guest, Dr. Romeo Castillo, has over 30 years of experience in medicine and as a teaching doctor. He is a foreign medical graduate himself and is a current program director, has a wealth of knowledge and insight that he's going to share with you all this evening. And finally, we have our guest, Dr. Soheb Khan, who is a Residency Medical Placement success. We helped Dr. Khan land his dream residency in an esteemed university-based program. After his successful completion, we went on to help him obtain a PGY2 pre-match at another university-based program. Dr. Khan, an IMG himself, and a Ross graduate, struggled due to his low scores and failed attempt. So tonight we are bringing these three guests together and we look forward to sharing all this information with you on how you can better your pathway and land a pre-match yourself. Without further ado, Dr. Michael Everest.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Aula. Hello, gentlemen.
Hello, Dr.
How are you, Dr. Castillo? How are you, Dr. Khan?
I'm doing great. How's everyone?
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. So I want to talk a little about Residency Medical, and then I'd like to really introduce our distinguished guest, Dr. Castillo. And really, you're getting a treat from a person that really cares to mentor applicants, medical students, graduates. So Residency Medical was started over 2 decades ago. It was a concept by my father, Dr. Edwin Everest, who was a famous cardiothoracic surgeon. I'm a second-generation doctor. So he thought of an idea when he was in his research lab. People would call, and it wasn't so bureaucratic then. You pick up the phone, hi, you want him to come to the lab, let's see how he does, let him integrate, and they would probably take the student. It's gotten more competitive now, it's gotten more bureaucratic, and you have processes. It is what it is. I don't have an opinion either way, it's just, that's the system. So what we do at Residency Medical is we get a student that is just passionate about medicine. You must have passion. And then we help build their curriculum vitae. We help them really embody the 6 ACGME core competencies and the core competencies that I've created. For example, developing soft skills, being able to function in a variety of settings. And the mentoring that we give can be really summed up in we eat and sleep this. And the idea is for us to help our candidate be a better resident is fine, but be a better physician. Don't burn out and just have these tools that are really, really paramount for a program. And what we are doing with, like Dr. Khan, is we integrated him into a program. He proved himself and he really worked hard and achieved in one of the top medical teaching hospitals, university-based, an internal medicine residency. He went on to get a pre-match at an HBC, Meharry Medical College. He graduated from there, and now he's a practicing physician. And we may have another go around and have him double board certified in IM coming up. So that's what we do at Residency Medical. We have to build the doctors of tomorrow. If you go to a tier 1 school, let's say in America, and you want to get into dermatology or you want to get into plastics, you would need a little push. If you're an IMG, you don't get the mentoring that we have here. So we're filling a void in helping humanity by building these doctors, giving them the tools. And today we're going to talk about pre-match, but we're also going to talk about the importance of integrating in a program, the importance of you, candidate X, being in front of Dr. Castillo as a program director, showing how you are under pressure, showing your attributes and in your process of change and growth. So we really are really big on that. And without further ado, I'd like to hand the microphone, like they say, to Dr. Castillo. If you'd share a little insight on what you look for in a candidate and what choices should an applicant make to stand out? Because any program, whether it's Cedars or whether it's your community hospital program, for 6-8 positions, you're going to have 1,000 applicants. So how do you differentiate yourself? So if you would kindly share, and then Dr. Khan was kind enough to join this webinar. He'll share his story and his journey, and we'll talk about what pre-match is. We'll take questions, and we'll go from there.
All right. So your question is asking about my personal experience on how I looked at residents, right? Personally, nobody's perfect. I know that. And the concept is no program director would like or desire any headaches from the residents that got matched. So someone I'm looking for, it's like the metaphor I'm using usually when I tell the residents applicant is, if you're a soldier going to a battle, you should be well equipped, ready for the battle, So as personally, I'm looking for someone who's ready. I don't want to hold someone's hand throughout their journey. I want them to I want a sense of teachability. They're teachable, mature, and has a strong emotional intelligence. And of course, he or she knows what he or she's getting into. It's a residency training. It's a battle. It's similar to a theater. If you are asked to perform, you're gonna have to perform your role. And if you mess up, everybody else is affected, especially nowadays that teamwork has been given so much emphasis by ACGME. So those are the personal attributes I'm looking at.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Castillo. And I think that what matters is where, if at all possible, to integrate in a program, because as Dr. Castillo says, he wants to make sure that the new student's going to come is going to get along with his residents, is teachable, is able to really function in a variety of settings, having the emotional stability, like you said, Dr. Castillo. And the idea is for you to do more than the bare minimum required. We basically require our IMG candidates, even our US grads, to have step 3 completed. We like them to take an in-training service exam for FM or family medicine or internal medicine, even before residency. What does that show? One of the biggest headaches would be for a program director, or Dr. Castillo would agree, I hope, is you don't want to deal with failed board scores, board exams. You have to pass your boards the first time. You have to make life easier for the program director. Be teachable, be self-sufficient, be a leader within a team, but be a team player. I think those are all important attributes. And Dr. Khan, how does this, what we're talking about team player, leadership, how in the 2 programs that you went through, if you could go back again, knowing what you know now, what improvements do you see are very important for a program, even during an interview?
Well, I would say that, like Dr. Castillo, like kind of jump off what Dr. Castillo was explaining, to have that emotional intelligence and being well prepared. And like Dr. Castillo mentioned, it's all about being open to learning, right? I mean, like everybody, I think, experiences that kind of anxiety once they first enter residency, and they're thinking to themselves, I don't know as much as a person next to me. And that's okay. But you have to, it's not, for me, what I learned, it's not more as much as what you don't know, but how much you're willing to learn and how much work you're willing to put in to improve it every day, right? Like if I could go back, I would read every day, but like just to take, I know residency schedule can be really exhausting and grueling, but it's so important to spend at least, say, 1 hour to say, just go over, like if you have a patient, if you're one of your patients had congestive heart failure or COPD, spend an hour to learn about it, right? And you'll find that if you do that consistently, you'll learn something every day. So I think what program directors and faculty and even your senior medical residents will pick up is that they want to see you. You don't need to be the smartest person in the room, but you need to be the hardest working person in the room. They want to see you put in that time and that effort, but also be able to be a team player, right? Like go out of your way. If your co-resident, if your co-intern, if they're struggling a little bit, lend in a helping hand. Say, hey, I can see that you're busy. Is there anything I can help you with? Like, and then also ask for feedback. That's what I would do. I would ask my senior resident, hey, towards the end of the month, how do you think I did? Where is there room for improvement? And but that's more on the personal things. And then of course, just making sure you get your work done. If they expect you to be there at a certain time, whether it be 6:30 or 5:30 in the morning, be there a half hour earlier, right? Go above and beyond and get your work done. Every residency has their own rules or expectations, I should say. For example, at Marshall in West Virginia, they wanted to see residents' patients' notes done by 9 o'clock because that's typically when rounds would occur. So as long as and then didactics, I think we're on Tuesdays or Wednesdays, didactics would start at 8. Well, they still expect you to get your patient notes done before then, so you're going to have to come in earlier. So having this combination of meeting expectations as well as being a team player and willing to learn, I think that you'll be able to go a long way.
Can I point out something about what Dr. Khan shared? Dr. Khan, I'm pretty sure the program you get, trained is very fortunate to have you. But for applicants, how would the program director see that in your application? That's a common question. It's not, most applicants are not accepted because of their incapabilities or they're not capable. It's how the program view your application. How would they even know that you have those kind of innate attitude that is very, very useful, important for the program director to look at. And well and good, if you get accepted, you're able to demonstrate all of those. But the most important thing is how you bring it to life. All the things that you have written in your application, how would you catch the attention of the program director or the review committee for you to get an interview? You have to have an interview first and then get matched, and then all the attitude Dr. Khan mentioned are extremely important, very important for the program director. Residency is all about evaluation. It's all about evaluation. That's the heart of residency program, feedback and evaluation. And that's a very great attitude that once you get into a program, you really have to demonstrate it.
Yes. No, thank you for that, Dr. Castillo. That's why I believe that when the opportunity arises, integrate in the program, volunteer, even if in California you can only shadow, but where you can do hands-on, because they see how you are every day. Are you balanced? Are you emotionally stable? And all those attributes. And I think that's one way also, and maybe you can chime on this, Dr. Castillo, is if someone does have low scores just because they were bad test taker. If you're there every day, if you mitigate your step 3 by taking it before residency, a program director will bypass something if he thinks you're a good mesh in the program and you pay your dues. So any thoughts on that, Dr. Castillo?
Yes, any program, it really depends. Some programs are looking at the applicants. It depends on highly academic programs, they look at scores. Of course, we will not be attracted to higher scores, right? But if a program like ours is looking at an application holistically as bits and pieces of put them all together and you have a high quality resume, it's not all about the score. It's a lot of other stuff, other things that you have done in your life story. What does your personal statement contain? Your personal statement transform the scores if you are aware of that. And the most important thing is to get interviewed, how to call the attention of the reader of your application, because we don't know you. We're only relying on what's written. So if you write a good application, that have a higher chances of being interviewed rather than, score is only one of them. And you have to explain in your personal statement why you didn't score well. It should be a very, very palatable explanation as to the program director will understand why someone has a failing grade and a better comeback, like a higher grade. So that's even more impressive to me. Someone who failed and suddenly have a even higher score, it tells something about the person.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, that's a wonderful wisdom. And thank you for that, Dr. Castillo. So let's talk about what a pre-match is. So there's different ways of obtaining residency in America. And I'm just going to talk about the generalized ones. There's pre-match. What pre-match is, in March of every year, the program has an algorithm, the NRMP has an algorithm. If you and the program match with the numbers as how many positions they have, you're accepted in the program. If not, it says, sorry, you did not match. So that's called the main NRMP match. Then we have what's called pre-match and what we're talking about. Pre-match is where sometime in December, at times in January, you get interviewed at the program, and if they like you, they make you an offer to be a staff resident. At that point, you have to withdraw out of the main match. You can't gamble, oh, I have this pre-match, but I have 12 other interviews, so let me go through the match. You have your contract, you don't have to wait until March. It's really desirable, especially for FMGs and IMGs, because they're already 5 miles behind the starting line just on that basis. The competition is just so much with DO schools now, and some of the Caribbean schools, like you, Dr. Khan, went to Ross, one of the best schools, right? But it's in the Caribbean. But it's really, really a desirable. There's very few programs that offer pre-match. And then there's your off-track positions where they start in January sometime and it goes from January to January. A lot of programs don't like doing that. Really, the thing I want to focus on is if you can get yourself in a position where you're integrated in the program and they are willing to pre-match you. You take a lot of the gamble and the headache away. So that's what pre-match is. But most of the positions are filled through the main NRMP match, which is stringent and based on a algorithm. Anything to add, Dr. Castillo, to what you think about pre-match and you as a program director, what do you favor? Do you favor going through the match or getting the positions out of the way?
I believe that one of the hardest working future doctors are IMGs. They are very diligent in really trying to find many avenues where they will learn or and do the best thing they can so that they can match to any program. They have been to different websites. Frida is one of them. Frida will provide you a more information about who's being pre-match or not pre-match, those things. And also, I believe in prayers and luck, also aside from your hard work. If you combine them together, there's a better chance. And don't let the bad results derail you from your plans. You keep going, diligence, and eventually you will meet along the way someone, a program that might give you an opportunity for an interview and you're able to prove yourself. One thing that was mentioned earlier is like observership. Those are the best ways to actually demonstrate who you are during the time you're observing, because program director are taking notes of pool of applicants, and one of my pool of applicants are observers. Because I don't want to take to gamble for someone I'm interviewing I don't even know about. Rather, that I will consider someone who actually have an experience, I have exposure with me, and I have a direct observation.
Yes. No, yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's golden. So, Dr. Khan, tell us a little about your story, and then what we will do is we will start answering questions from the participants, and do a little closing. Tell because there's a lot of IMGs, FMGs, US grads listening now. So tell them about your story, how you persevered, how you didn't give up, and give some hope to people because you were in their shoe just a couple years ago.
Yeah. So mine is long story. So yeah, I graduated med school from Ross in 2012. And I tried observerships. I took step 3. I passed step 3 in 2014. And I also worked, I did clinical documentation for a little while. During all that time, I was trying observerships and I just clerkships, anything. Finally, I came upon Residence Medical, and Residence Medical sent me initially. I did research at Keck here in LA, and after that, I did a year research fellowship in West Virginia at Marshall University, and then I matched into the internal medicine program as a prelim. So I did a 1-year prelim in internal medicine. And subsequently after that, I ended up going to Meharry in Nashville in preventive medicine. So that was a 2-year program that you start out as a PGY2. And so I did 2 years there, and I just completed it in last July. And now I'm working in wound care. I'm a wound care specialist here in Southern California. Primarily, I'm doing home health care right now. And then I hope to do post or acute care next month. And then maybe even some primary care along the way too. But I know this is a really concise story, but before I came across Residence Medical, I didn't know what was going to happen. I just knew that I wanted to get into residency. And yeah, it was so difficult for me because as Dr. Everest mentioned earlier, I had low scores. I had 2 attempts. I had 1 attempt on each step 1 and step 2. And then unfortunately at that time, my step 2 score was even lower than my step 1 score. And then, so I ended up taking step 3, but like I wasn't even getting interview invitations. And with each year, it was more and more hopeless every year that I applied. So it was a pretty upsetting time. And it was quite a stretch too, right? But fortunately, after speaking with Dr. Everest and the staff at Residence Medical, Professor Heffernan and Sheila, and even Mrs. Everest, they allayed a lot of my fears that wouldn't work out, or like I said, I didn't know what was going to happen, but they had a plan for me, which was reassuring. Everybody's plan is different that they'll set out, and it is a process. These things, they just don't happen overnight. And as much as we hope that things will go smoothly, life kind of has different plans for you. So it's a matter of, I would say it's 2 things are required along this journey, which is patience and hard work. Having a hardworking ethic and will keep you resilient, right? And in patience, like I said, things just don't happen. Good things just don't happen overnight. So it takes time. And I know, just like me, the candidates who are going along their own journey, they all have put in a lot of time, and they're probably expecting, that things hopefully will go smoothly. But like everybody's story is different, and everybody's journey can be, what I've learned is that some people's journey is to their destination can be shorter or longer, but eventually people get to their destination when they put in the work.
When Dr. Khan came, there's no like microwave in medicine. The program director wants to say, so what's your big rush? You want to get in next week? Come and spend time, pay your dues. Dr. Khan spent a whole year there with the program director, working hard, till they said, you know what? I see how you are this whole year. I can look past this because I know the real you. And that's why integrating in a program is very important, and being stable, being even keeled. Nobody wants, as Dr. Castillo said, nobody wants a headache. If you go there and you don't act entitled and you work hard, Residence Medical believes that. You have to work hard. There's no shortcuts. But in doing that, we open up opportunities where people will be willing to look. Someone like a Dr. Castillo that has a heart, he sees somebody struggling, but he sees this person can be promising. That's who we go to. We're not going to send you to someone who's, has their nose up in the air for no reason, because I can tell you, I've been doing this a long time, and some of the most amazing stories are IMGs, how they just persevere. When I've had some U.S. grads and they just quit the program, they don't want to do this. I had some U.S. grads that wanted to defer their residency during the pandemic peak. They're like, we're not doing this right now. IMGs were rushing to it because they have they had that luxury. So, each story is different, but you have to be able to be willing, I should say, to put in the time. Any thoughts on that, Dr. Castillo? And then we'll go on and ask some questions.
I will share with you my personal experience about
Please.
IMGs that are resilient. In my program, in my 20 years, a total of 13 years as a program director. How many have I accepted because their applications, there's an evidence that they are hardworking. There's an evidence that they are resilient and persistent, and they did so many things because they really like it. They desire it. I can see it from their application. How many applicants I have accepted by just virtue alone? I'm looking at the application holistically, and an applicant that has demonstrated, and the evidence is very clear, that they really like it. They have passion about it, but it's not captured in their application. I give them chance. There are a lot of other program directors similar to me, but how will we know? How will we discover these people? Unless they get an opportunity to be mentored, an opportunity to do observership, and that's the time you will shine and you'll be able to be discovered. Because application alone with low grade, nobody will invite you for an interview. And every year we have a program director survey, and more than half is still considering grade as a grade when they decide to interview someone. This is what the decision that they do by looking at the grades, not looking at the applicants holistically. So finding an opportunity to actually have an actual experience with programs in somehow will really kind of like help you a lot and be able to be discovered your qualities that actually not been expressed in your application.
No, absolutely. Thank you for that. That's so insightful. And you have to remember that a program, you have to be able to mesh well with the program. That's really the key. You can have these applicants that they may look good on paper, but they're not going to mesh well with the culture of the program. So that's a headache for everybody. So that's why we're a big believer in, let's go try each other out. Go on this observership, this blind date, if you will, and see how you guys get along. And if you get along, stay longer. And I think that really helps, having prior knowledge of the applicant. Although it's not so high on the program director survey like step 1, step 2, I've seen time in Dr. Khan's example. He was at a top university program. If you just show yourself and you touch the heart of the PD or the DIO, and you understand the hierarchy of how you are respectful to the attendings, to the chief resident, and you learn for the lack of a better word, the politics of residency, that's how you'll succeed. That's really a big factor, along with, as Dr. Castillo said, blessings, luck. It's more complicated than it looks. It used to be an application, a score, but PDs have been burnt by high scores. PDs have been burnt by low scores. It's safer if you can get in front of the program director for a substantial time and show yourself day in, day out. It's harder to say no to somebody that you know than just saying no to an application with an AMC ID number, because you have no, it's just human nature.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Plus, when you do observership, you have a better chances of being interviewed because you become a fleshed out individual, not just an application.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Very well. So I think we should take some questions now, and then we'll close up. And, I thank Dr. Castillo and Dr. Khan for your valuable time. Do you want, Sheila's off camera. She's going to read the questions that come up on the screen. And if you can filter through them, please.
Sure. So we have a question. Please, as an IMG who is interested in internal medicine, who has done Step 1, Step 2 CK, and OET certified by ECFMG, but yet to do Step 3, is there any chance of getting a pre-match?
Well, let me answer that. So there's a lot more variables. We have to know your scores. We have to see what kind of U.S. clinical experience you have. Do you need a visa? Do you not need a visa? Pre-match is possible. It may not be this pre-match, but if you continue with it and we get some more information, we can give you some free advice on how to, what's available and what's not.
Sure. So the doctor also wanted to know if being in another country would prevent them from getting pre-matched.
Yes, I think so. It's going to be hard to pre-match somebody. Usually pre-match programs have people rotating through them and they pick from there a lot of the times. What are your thoughts on that, Dr. Castillo?
Well, this is if an applicant has a very extraordinary talents that will bring in something to the program or stellar applications. There are something so unique that he will bring in or she will bring into the program that will actually something that might call the attention of the program director, that this applicant will bring in something, because even if it is a pre-match, you still have to be interviewed. Your application should still be reviewed. It didn't offer pre-match because they offer to everyone. They don't. They really have to look at your applications before they offer a pre-match.
100%, yeah. Do you want to get another question in?
Yes, so this one is for Dr. Castillo. So how important is Step 3 in an applicant's application?
Not at all. Okay, Step 3 is strengthen your application, okay, but it's not a requirement. We're not looking to that, but I'm looking at Step 1 and Step 2 in your pattern of passing. That will predict give us a better prediction whether you're going to pass Step 3. So if you are a passing score in Step 1 and Step 2 might not be stellar score, but it only took it one time, and if you fail, you come back with higher grades. It might give us an opportunity to make a determination. Oh, this candidate would be able to pass Step 3, or like Dr. Khan was mentioning earlier about reading. One of the things we're looking at as a program director in order to pass Step 3 is the lifelong learning, the attitude about lifelong learning. Have you demonstrated that? What have you done to continue reading? We tell residents to read at least 1 hour a night every day of their 3 years. Okay, that's a habit that you have to cultivate in order to pass all the other tests. Those tests only gives us guidance as to whether you're going to pass the board exams, including the IT. The IT is also given every year. That will give us also an opportunity to make a determination or a judgment whether residents will pass the board. We want everybody to be board certified. That's the main purpose of that, because you cannot get a license if you have no Step 3.
Right, yeah, exactly. And remember, although it's not a requirement, when you're doing 80 hours, a week or whatever as a resident, you're not going to have time to study. So you'll do yourself a favor if you're going through the observerships, passing it, so you can focus on your residency, because residency is now, like Dr. Castillo said, it's the war. You're getting paid for that war. Before observerships, they're not paying you. So there's a different level of requirement. But once you're a staff and you're getting paid, then you have to perform like a paid staff member. There's no, I need 2 weeks off, I need a month off. They'll give it to you, but if you know yourself as that type of person where testing is hard or you get overwhelmed, get it out of the way before residency. It'll make your life easier, I think, at least.
I can agree with you for 100%, Dr. Everest. Get it in your way.
Yes, sir. Good. I think we'll take one more question, and then let's close out, and we could. The questions can continue on the live chat with Residents Medical Group. We like to keep this about 30 to 40 minutes, so it's not dragging on. Sheila, you want to give one last question?
So we have a question. How long do you think an international medical graduate needs to do an observership or externship, for that matter, with a program director to be considered for pre-match or match?
Well, let this Dr. Castillo take it, then I can give some insight.
Right. Normally, the practice is customarily, we would like to mimic a normal rotation of 4 weeks. By the way, in California, if you do by law, if you do observership in California, you cannot be hands, so you're just observing, not your hands are tied. In other state, you can, but in California, and if your application described that you did touch the patient, you did a function of a physician like history taking and physical exam, that compromise, that actually comprise a practice of medicine, which outright, will remove you from our list.
Yep.
Have it in
That's so
mind,
true.
please.
Thank you for bringing that out, because I get a lot of students and they'll say they were doing clinical hands-on in California or New York or a place like that. That's, any program directors are smart. They know what the rules and regulations are, right? And you don't want to have an application where you're oblivious to it, or you don't know, or you're maybe misrepresenting. That's a bad sign. The ideal are to do externships in states or like cities, let's say like Chicago, Ohio, Florida, where you can touch these patients. But make sure that your application is truthful. And to be considered for pre-match, yes, at least 4 weeks, but it all depends. 1 month to 6 months. How ready are you? You get the chance to showcase, so here it is. How long will it take you to shine out and stand out? If you stand out in 4 weeks, then you can get a pre-match in 4 weeks. But they have to know you. It's a very arbitrary number. There's no solid number. 3 months U.S. experience there, and we'll take you. It matters how you do. Great. So in saying that, I'd like to close this off. Thank you, Dr. Khan, for this wonderful. I know you've been working all day, and it really means a lot that you took this time and really shared back and gave back to a community that really needs some questions answered. And Dr. Castillo, congratulations on your new program that got accredited in California. I'm sure you're going to get a lot of applicants. We were happy to be part of that with Residence Medical Consultancy, and we look to support you fully. And we thank you for all the work and all the passion that you have in helping these young students. It's a lot of treasures you're stacking up in the karmic world, or in heaven, like they say. So very good. Thank you for all your work. Thank you, Dr. Khan, for making us proud. And we're not about just getting the residency. I've been walking. Miss Aula's been walking with Dr. Khan post throughout, coming up with more plans. We've really become lifelong partners in watching you grow into this doctor. So we. That's all I have as far as my closing. Dr. Castillo, Dr. Khan, would you like to close first with Dr. Khan, and we'll give the last word to Dr. Castillo.
Like I mentioned, it's really hard for you to show who you really are in applications. And I know that's a common fear or stress from applicants. How will I get the interview? How I get interviewed? Because that's the most important thing. Get interviewed, you become a fleshed out individual. Once you get an interview, it's not all about your application anymore. It's about you. So the main goal is strengthen your application. Don't write a very long personal statement that becomes boring. Highlight the most important thing that you would like to share to the program director or to the reader. And again, Dr. Khan has demonstrated resiliency, and actually that can be seen also in an application. Some program director consider that. So don't let bad experience derail your plans. And consulting like a institution or a entity like Residency Match to guide you through a certain process, because this is what their experience are, and your chances are even higher. If you're able to get an observership or be involved in research, because research is another area where you can work with program directors, that will be another avenue for you to be discovered. And again, just try and try. Hopefully someone will notice you.
Absolutely. No, that's wonderful advice. And we actually have a residency calculator we created with UCLA's School of Statistics. You can actually punch in your profile, your scores, and it'll give you a percentage based on, I think, 10 years of NRMP history. So that could be a good tool to see what your percentages are from a.
I think there's a lot of tool out there trying to get a match from a specialty and chances of being matched.
Absolutely. Dr. Khan, since you are the shining light of success and perseverance, closing words, and then we'll sign off.
Yeah, I just wanted to convey my gratitude to Dr. Everest and Residence Medical for, essentially making my dreams come true, working in a residency program and having a career that I'm happy with. Right now, I'm doing this wound care. I'm a wound care specialist right now, and the most reward, I think most of us as doctors, what we want out of our patient interaction is, not only to see them improve, but there's also a great reward when they are grateful and appreciative for the work and time that we spend with them. So, and I'm experiencing that. So that same gratitude I want to convey to Dr. Everest and his whole staff at Residence Medical. They do a lot of good work, and they did help me a lot. Like Dr. Castillo was saying, having that perseverance, resilience, and a hard work ethic, and hopefully everything will work out for you.
Great. Thank you, gentlemen, for your valuable time. And we'll send this recording out to people that missed it, and you can get some questions answered with our counselors online too, if you come to the site. Everyone have a wonderful day. Thank you, Dr. Castillo. Thank you, Dr. Khan. And be well. We'll be in touch soon.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone.
Yes,
Good
thank
evening,
you.
everyone.
Thank you.